Welcome everybody to the Q&A. First of all, I just want to extend a thank you to everybody who submitted their questions. I honestly got way more questions than I was expecting to get, which really just shows me how much you guys care, so I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get started, shall we? I have the questions right in front of me, so we're just going to do this live. So yeah, let's get started. Our first few questions come from the Snow Shredder. He was the only one to make a video response to the Q&A. And his first question is, where do I come from? I live in San Diego. It's a big beach city, which is in the southern part of California. Yeah, so great weather and very warm, if any of you have ever been to San Diego. But I love it. His next question was, why do I prefer the Jedi over the Sith? Well, for me, it's mostly a matter of principle. I personally think the Jedi's philosophy is just a lot more pure and a lot more, I guess you could say, honorable than the Sith's. You know, Jedi don't crave power just for power's sake. They crave knowledge and understanding. You know, when you have these beings who can do what the Jedi can do, it's a lot of power, and if they wanted to, they could easily overthrow the Republic and rule it themselves. Darth Plagueis even says so in the novel. Well, technically Palpatine says so, but still. But the fact that they are able to adhere themselves to this code of ethics that basically they choose not to rule, they choose to serve, I just think there's a lot more you could do with that, and I think it gives them, you know, just a lot more of a pure outlook on life than the Sith, who simply, you know, desire to use their powers to dominate others. So for me, it's mostly just a philosophy sort of thing. Yeah. So his third question was, what is my favorite era in Star Wars? Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are expecting me to say the New Jedi Order era because, you know, I kind of hinted at that in a few past Versus videos. But honestly, I don't know if I could really pin down one single era that I would say is the best. You know, I think every era in Star Wars has at least one really good story to it. Though, if I were to narrow it down to two, I would say my two favorite eras are the New Jedi Order, of course, and as strange as it may sound, I really like the stories that take place in between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I guess you could call it the Republic Golden Age, you know, the Dark Horse comics, for any of you that are familiar. The stories in those comics just really, they touch on ideas that really are rarely touched on in Star Wars, and I think just expanding on all these characters and all these events, and you really see the turmoil that leads up to Attack of the Clones. You know, stuff like Jedi Council, Acts of War, Emissaries to Malastare, and even the Jedi Quest books. They're just so well done. It's not entirely something I could really put into words. Just look at them for yourselves and you'll see why it's such a good era. Okay, so that's his questions out of the way. Let's get to the comments. Alright, Leon Warner asks, will I do a Jason Solo versus series? Maybe not Jason, but Darth Kaitis. Keep an eye out for that. Will I do a Reborn Revan series? Probably not. You know, I can honestly say with all certainty that my old Luke Skywalker vs. Revan video wasn't very good, you know, for either character. And considering Revan is a player character where you pretty much decide what he can and can't do for the most part, it's very difficult to really pin down exact statistics. And the novel that he's featured in is god-awful, and it's also really the only piece that we really can say other than player interaction what he could do, so probably not. Will I ever feature Tenel Ka in the Versus series? You may see her eventually. Not for season 4, but season 5, again, keep an eye out. Okay, next up comes from Tomti Nissa. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just want to apologize in advance if I butcher anybody's names here. Will I do more of the story of series? Because I love the story of General Grievous, and I'm not sure about the name, but I hope you understand. You almost spelled it right. It's not an easy name to spell. Yes, I will be doing more of the story of. Just, a heads up for all you guys. Expect at least one the story of video per season in the Versus series. So I'll break up the Versus series with a story of video. It's just, those videos are very difficult to do, so that's why it takes so long to get certain ones out. But yeah, I will. Next question, Tabor Watt-Tickens. Wow, I'm butchering people's names here. Sorry, bro. He asks, can I do a video about the forms of lightsaber combat? Honestly, Connor Jensarai, he's done the best anyone's ever gonna do with describing the lightsaber forms. There's really nothing I could add that he hasn't already said already. What is my favorite Sith? That's a very difficult one. Honestly, I can't say for sure one individual Sith is my favorite. So as a little bit of a consolation, I'll just give you the 3 people I think of when I think Sith, and those are Darth Sidious, Darth Bane, and Darth Plagueis. With Darth Sidious, he's basically the main villain of the entire universe almost, and he, in a nutshell, accomplished what no other Sith before and arguably even after him ever achieved, at least fully. And he's just so manipulative, and just when you really take into context what he did, it's truly mind-blowing. With Darth Bane, obviously he kind of started the Sith on a new path with creating the Rule of Two, and for him to break away from the old ideals of the Sith really makes him stand out. He saw where the Sith were headed. He saw how to destroy the Jedi. He was the only one to really understand, this system is not working. I know how to make it better. And it's really just, for him to do that is just incredible, and he's such a great character. If anyone here hasn't read the Darth Bane trilogy, check it out. You do not know what you're missing. And with Darth Plagueis, he kind of represents what the Sith became from Bane's era on. Starting out as kind of manipulative powerhouses to very aristocratic, very intelligent, very subtle. He's the kind of Sith that will outsmart you and then kill you. He will twist you, he will find a way to break you no matter what. And his intelligence, his cunning, really is just something to behold, even by Sith standards. And of course, as we all know, that intelligence and that arrogance was ultimately his undoing. And I think that makes for a good, don't believe your own hype sort of story. And it really paints a good picture of, you could be, one of the smartest people in the universe, but still, you could still be underplayed. Darth Plagueis wanted to become immortal. He wanted to become invincible. But his biggest downfall was that he trusted Palpatine with these secrets, which is something that Sith doctrine has always said, give your apprentice bits and pieces, don't give him all your power until it's finally ready for him to replace you. But Plagueis didn't want to be replaced, he wanted to have a partner, and that is what was ultimately his undoing. He tried to remake the Sith sort of like Darth Bane did, but unlike Darth Bane, his philosophy was flawed. So his story could be shown as a really good example of how the dark side can truly undo a person. So yeah, Darth Plagueis. This next question comes from SugarJumper45. What is the lamest character in Star Wars? Coleman Trebor. 360-degree vision, Sarisu practitioner, on the council, gets killed by a few shots from Jango Fett. Enough said. Who is your favorite bounty hunter? I'm obviously not the biggest connoisseur of bounty hunters. Obviously, I like Boba and Jango Fett, but if I were to break away from the Fett line, I guess I would have to say Aurra Sing. Yeah, Aurra Sing. What is your favorite alien race? I touched on this in my answers to a Star Wars questionnaire video, but for those of you who didn't see it, obviously my favorite race is humans, but other than humans, I would have to say Nautilins, Yuuzhan Vong, Whippids. Great species. Okay, next up, Sir Duckington High. Alright. What are you into? Are you into other franchises other than comic books and Star Wars? Yeah, you know, there are several movie franchises I'm a fan of, you know, stuff like The Matrix, horror movies, etc. Yeah, I'm into a lot of other things, besides comic books and Star Wars. Favorite lightsaber wielder? I assume you mean my favorite lightsaber duelist, and in that regard, Kal Katarn. All the way. Number 3 from him. Favorite lightsaber design out of already made lightsabers. Okay, that's interesting. Well, there's a lot of really great designs for the movie characters out there. You know, obviously you have the iconic Luke Skywalker, not Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi design. But out of the films, I would say the lightsaber design that sticks out most to me would be Count Dooku's lightsaber. Just the curved handle, the cylindrical style, the smooth curving. It really stands out when compared to the other lightsabers. But that's just me. Okay, next up is from AxeLink13. His first question is, the Versus series, do you think you'll expand beyond Jedi and Sith, such as bounty hunters? Well, part of the reason I don't do non-Force users is because, to be honest, there's not really as great of a set of statistics around bounty hunters, etc., that there are for Jedi, such as the lightsaber forms and certain Force powers. However, I have recently made plans to feature a non-Force user battle, not in Season 4, but in Season 5, so look out for that, but don't expect it to be a recurring theme. Do you play SWTOR? I did, not anymore. You know, I did when it was popular, like as it still is, but I didn't stick with it. You know, I played a few of the stories to the end, and then I stopped. Alright, next up is from CherryGaming95. Evan, will you buy Halo 5? P.S. Who would win in a fight, grilled cheese or tacos? I don't really have plans to buy Halo 5, and grilled cheese. Taco will just shatter. Thanks, man. Next up, Tay Vion Nakam. Alright. He asks, Jason Solo versus Mace Windu. Oh, damn. Well, I have no illusions that Jason could at the very least compete with Mace on the lightsaber front and Force abilities, but I think ultimately Mace would be able to defeat Jason. Now, if it was Darth Kaitis against Mace Windu, that could be another story, but for now, Mace Windu takes this one. Alright, Dark Phoenix Ninja 92. Okay, this is going to be a little controversial-ish, okay, but I have to ask it. Who would win in an all-out naval battle between Admiral Hackett and Thrawn, both using Star Wars in-universe ships? I honestly can't really give an answer for that one, you know. For such a request, there's so many factors you'd have to consider, not just the strategies used by the two opponents, but location, what specific fleets they're using, do they have prior knowledge of the battle, do they not? There's so many factors playing into that I couldn't give a concrete answer, so I apologize. Zach asks, Starkiller versus Luke Skywalker. Man, I get... okay, guys, you gotta stop asking this one. Luke Skywalker, it's really no contest. But still, thanks, man. Fabian Apostonia? Oh god, I'm not a racist, I swear. Question: do you like Star Trek as well as Star Wars? Or are you a one franchise sort of guy? I like Star Trek. My dad was actually a big Trekkie in his day. He's actually the one that got me into sci-fi originally when I was younger. I've seen a fair amount of the series, and I've seen all the Star Trek movies. I enjoy it. It's definitely a different flavor than Star Wars. It definitely has its perks. I'm obviously not as into it as Star Wars, but I don't dislike it. Alright, Flipping Pig Gaming asks, can you give me a couple of script changes for episodes 4, 5, and 6? Whew, okay. For 4, I would have to say... That's tricky. That's very tricky. I'd say I can't really give you one for 4. For 5, I know what I would definitely change. I would definitely make the training sequence between Luke Skywalker and Yoda longer. If anyone here has actually read the novelization of The Empire Strikes Back, it actually goes into much more detail about Luke's training under Yoda. If you watch the movie, it's kind of abrupt. That's always a problem I thought I had with Episode 5. How Luke, he's relatively skilled before Yoda's training, but then after Yoda's training, which if you look at the movie, it could just be a span of like a week, he goes to being able to hold his own against Darth Vader. That doesn't make sense. If you read the novel, it goes into more detail and actually makes a lot more sense, so that's what I would change there. Episode 6, wouldn't change a thing. That's my favorite Star Wars movie. The second question is, what would you do if you were stuck in a house with only your phone? I guess I would call a friend or call the police to come help me get out. Yeah, thanks, man. Alex Canadian Air Cadets asks, how do you make your videos? You don't have to put in that in your next video if you would recommend. Oh, okay, sorry. I use Final Cut Pro X on a Mac, and yeah, that's all I use. Quite effective, actually. Next up, Steve is Minecraft. I don't mean to come off as passive-aggressive if I seem so, okay? But out of curiosity, what kept you from making a video of my idea from several months back? Onasi versus Solo. Was it lack of interest, extensive... I'm not quite sure what he wrote there. It's... Alright. Or unable to get details. I have no problem with the video not being made, but I can't help but feel if I bothered you with it. Yeah, I remember those requests. It's like I said before, with the non-Force users, there's so many wildcards that could happen, and there's so much riding on certain factors that you can't really give a ultimately concrete answer. With Onasi and Solo, they're both pretty average unarmed fighters and very good with pistols, so really it could really go either way. So yeah, that's why. Alright, Mega Man 0 ZX127. Alright, technical, I like it. What are your thoughts about the KOTOR 2 Sith Lords? Yeah, I'm making this because I'm a huge Darth Nihilus fan. His channel avatar is Darth Nihilus' face. KOTOR 2, I like the game overall. I do agree with Matt on the idea that it's not quite as good as the first game, at least in the story department. I will say, though, it's definitely improved in the graphics and gameplay side of things. It's just that the story leaves a bit to be desired. It's a little confusing, and you don't really feel like you're making quite as much a difference as you did in the first game, but to each his own. Garny Hume 12 asks, which fleet do you like most of the Republic, CIS, Empire, or Rebels? Which fleet? I suppose the Republic fleet from the Clone Wars. Kind of a vague question, but okay. Johnson Zoo, your favorite... What's your favorite position, brah? Not even gonna dignify that one. What's your favorite planet and species? Oh, this is from Official Game Clash 360. Again, I touched on both of these in my answers to a Star Wars questionnaire video, but if you didn't see it, well, I already mentioned the species. So for planets, Coruscant, And what was the other one? Was it Alderaan? I don't remember. It's been so long. But yeah. Trevor Bennett, actually, he asks, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Oh, dude. Caramel, vanilla. Good, it'll blow your mind. Good stuff. Do you like Kingdom Hearts? I haven't heard of... If you haven't heard of it, will you give it a try? Yes, I have heard of Kingdom Hearts, and yes, I have even played it. I'm not a diehard fan or anything. I'm not really much of an RPG person. But I didn't dislike the game, it's just, I played it, I enjoyed it, went no further. I honestly only played the first 2 games, and I never went any further than that. And the only reason I played the second game is because someone bought it for me a few years back, and I didn't want to be rude. But yeah, I enjoyed it, but, you know, that's all I could say. Nevis24 asks, what kind of toy lightsaber did you first get as a child? Oh, okay. My very first toy lightsaber was actually a Hasbro Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber. It was one of those ones, it wasn't electronic. You would hold the button down and just flick your wrist and it would just come out. That is the earliest one I could remember, and I'm pretty sure that was the first one I ever got. Yeah, you know what, I think I even might have a box somewhere in my attic that still has it. It's probably beaten up like nobody's business right now, but yep, that was my first. Alright, Jillian Williams, who would you think who would you think would win in a fight? Darth Sidious versus Darth Krayt. I honestly think Darth Krayt stands a perfectly good chance of defeating Darth Sidious, particularly as he's portrayed in Episode 3. If we're talking Dark Empire, Darth Sidious versus Krayt, then the lines become a bit blurred. But, you know, overall, I guess Sidious would be the victor, but I do think Krayt stands a perfectly good chance. Alright, next up, the Furry Production. He asks, are you hyped about the new Star Wars movies? Bro, is that even a question? Do you think they should make a Star Wars live-action TV series? Okay, so there have been rumors about a live-action Star Wars TV series since, like, 2009. Honestly, I wouldn't object to it, but I actually think Star Wars, as far as TV goes, works better in animation, partly because you're not restricted to certain guidelines that certain actors, you know, human actors, are forced to endure, so, but that's just my 2 cents. Number 3, his third question, what do you think about the EU becoming non-canon compared to the movies? Alright, I knew I was going to get this question more than once. Okay, guys, canon is what you make of it. You know, if something you enjoy, you know, entertains you and you think it should be in the story, then it's in the story. And if you look at the article when they first released the thing about the legends, the word non-canon is actually never even used. So I do think it's a bit, I do think the fan reaction to the whole legends thing's a little over the top. I honestly saw it coming from a mile away. But, you know, it doesn't matter who says what. What matters is what you like. You know, I still consider the EU canon, and so do a lot of other people. So, just because someone says something is canon and something isn't canon, it doesn't matter, because we, as the fans, decide what we want canon and what we don't want canon. It all comes down to us. So, that's just how I view it. Harry W. asks, do you think the B2 grapple droid should come back? Sure, I guess. Dennis96, who do you think is the most powerful Sith Lord of all time when looking at their abilities? I'm not gonna argue with canon here, so I'll just say Darth Sidious. Josh Williams, if you had to choose between 3 force powers to use, and only 3, what would they be and why? I guess if I were to just choose between 3, it would be telekinesis, force-based physical augmentation, and battle meditation. Daishai, his question, Daishai asks, Which Sith Order do you think is better? Rule of Two or the One Sith? Well, I do think the philosophy of the Rule of Two is definitely a lot closer to Sith doctrine than the Rule of One. And also, a majority of the Rule of Two Sith characters are a lot more interesting than the One Sith, at least the majority. So yeah, Rule of Two all the way. His second question is, do you think the dark side of the Force could ever be used for the greater good? Instead of giving my opinion on that, I suggest you take a look at Grey Jedi 91's video. He got that same question for his Q&A, and he answered it in a video all its own. Check that out, because him and I share the same opinion on that, and there's honestly nothing else I could say that he hadn't already said in that video, so I urge you to check that one out. Alright, next up, Ryan Belcher 25RB asks, would you do a collab with either Grays, Jens, Antony, or Reddy in Season 4? Yeah. Just watch out for that. Stay tuned for Season 4, you'll see. Number 2, favorite Star Wars era, already answered that. Would you do any more of the story of again? Already answered that too. Alright, This next question comes from Sleek the Trandosian. He asks, what is your favorite Star Wars video game? You better say KOTOR 2. Sorry, bro, but, well, my favorite Star Wars game. Well, just on the for me, what makes a perfect video game is good story and good gameplay to back it up. Something like KOTOR 1 has an excellent story, but for me at least, the gameplay leaves a little to be desired. It's just not, I know a lot of people do like it, it's just not my appeal. Something like Battlefront 2 has excellent gameplay, but a little lacking in the story department. But if I were to pick a game that has good story and good gameplay all around, and is overall a solid, enjoyable experience, then I'd honestly have to say my favorite Star Wars game is Jedi Academy. You know, because for the first time, you really get to insert yourself into the Jedi Order, and it also has some of the best lightsaber gameplay, to me at least, in any video game. So yeah, Jedi Academy. Sorry, dude. His next question is, your favorite Force power? Transcending the physical plane as a Force spirit. And his final question is, I'm starting my own Versus series. Alright, man. Any tips? The only real tips I say I could give you is, be passionate, no doubt about that. Put a lot of research into each character. You don't want to miss anything, because trust me, dude, people will notice even the slightest thing. I learned that all too well in my first few Versus videos. And pick matches that are interesting but also unexpected. You know, don't just do the, Starkiller versus Luke Skywalker, or the Darth Vader versus Darth Maul. You know, pick matches that you normally wouldn't, people, I guess I should say, normally wouldn't expect, like Kakruk versus Warb Null. A little shout out to Connor right there. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you're enjoying it and you're able to produce good quality videos. So yeah. Okay, Paco Golani 1 asks, can you do a DBZ Versus series? No thanks. I do like Dragon Ball Z, but not enough to really make a Versus video for it. Plus, again, there's so many factors that that are unmeasured in Dragon Ball that would make a Versus battle between it, at least in my format, pretty difficult. So no thanks. But still, thanks for the questions. Cold Wolf asks, do you play Dark Souls? I do, and I gotta say, hard as hell, but also fun. Like, really fun. If anyone's played Dark Souls before, you know what I'm talking about. Do you have Steam? Nope. I have a Mac, so yeah, I can't play Steam. Do you watch anime? Not frequently. I have, and on occasion. I'm not like a diehard anime fan, but I do like it. It's just not something I watch readily. I don't really watch TV much at all these days either. But yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks, man. That's a little PS message. Alright, next up, Vegeta Super Saiyan AQW. Favorite vehicle in Star Wars? I answered that in my answers to a Star Wars questionnaire. Just go check that out. Orel481 asks, if you were going to fight in a sorry, I missed my fault there. Part of the message was cut off. There we go. If you were going to fight a big group of Sith, like 20 of them, who would be on your Jedi Dream Team? And I could only have 5 members. Okay, cool. So 20 Sith, and I could only have 5 Jedi with me. Okay, so on... Okay. So on the right flank, I would have Luke Skywalker and Kyle Katarn. On the left flank, I would have Mace Windu and Yoda. And then in the rear, it would be myself and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then behind us would be Oppo Rancisis. You know, Luke and Kyle, Mace and Yoda could deal with the army in the front, and then me and Kenobi could focus on defending Oppo Rancisis while he uses his battle meditation to reinforce us. So yeah, that's how I would do it. Next up is Sam Owen. He asks, hey, I just wanted to say I really love your channel and videos, so thanks for making them. Thanks, man. That means a lot. I mean, really, it does. His first question is, when will Season 4 start? Soon, very soon. 2, how did you decide to start YouTube? That's actually a question I got beforehand from Connor, so once I get to his questions, I'll answer that one. Number 3, do you think you'd get as successful as you are now? No, I did not think I was gonna get as successful as I am now. When I started this YouTube channel, I never ever thought I would make it this far, and you know, it truly does humble me at times. You know, sometimes when I look at all the comments and all this and the subscriber count, it almost feels like a dream sometimes. You know, I'm truly thankful to all you guys for just enjoying what I do, and it really helps. You know, I'm not lying when I say that you guys sometimes are what keeps me going. So yeah, thank you. Robert Lynch asks, what is your favorite arc in DBZ? Okay, I know I'm kind of in the minority here, but I like the Namek saga. You know, the Frieza Namek saga, that's my favorite. You know, best stories, best characters. Yeah. Number 2, who is your favorite Green Lantern? Hal Jordan, all the way. Number 3, what is your opinion on Star Wars The Clone Wars? I know some of you may be expecting me to say that I don't like it because of the opinions of some of my contemporaries. Personally, while I do have my issues with the Clone Wars, my feelings on the show net positive at the end of the day. Despite some of the continuity issues, I think, you know, very well animated, very entertaining. You have a lot of very interesting characters and ideas that haven't really been explored in Star Wars. So I think overall it's a very well done series, and I do think that it is severely underrated at times by some people. But hey, we all have our opinions. Oren Hughes asks, can you please do Asajj Ventress vs Darth Maul? That's a very tricky matchup. I probably won't ever use Asajj Ventress because I don't like her very much as a character. You might want to pitch that one to Connor because he really likes Asajj Ventress. So yeah, sorry, bro. Dalin Case, or is it Dylan? No, it's Dalin Case asks, if you weren't a Jedi, what weapon would you use and why? Okay, so if I weren't a Jedi but I was in the Star Wars universe, I guess I would use a blaster pistol or a vibroblade. Both very efficient weapons and very versatile. Oathkeeper65 asks, would you ever consider doing a cross versus battle, like Star Trek characters versus their war counterparts? No, I really wouldn't. You know, aside from non-Force users having a lot of unorthodox factors, taking two franchises that are completely different and trying to decide who would win is just, it's a task that's beyond my capabilities. Sorry. His second question is, Have you thought of doing a sci-fi weapon versus series? Just comparing weapons? Personally, to me, I don't think that would be very entertaining. Just comparing weapons, which one is more efficient than the other, I don't think you could really make that into a full video. So yeah. How has your day been? So far, my day's been good. It's actually my older sister's birthday today. I gave her a call just a little while ago, wishing her happy birthday. So yeah, things are going good. Can't complain. Alrighty. LT. Sorry, LT Vipers. Okay, LT Vipers. Who is your favorite YouTuber other than yourself? Okay, well, obviously the cliched thing would be to say, Jen Sarai, Grey Jedi 91, Antoine or Ready 4. But beyond our little community, which YouTubers that I like, I've often enjoyed Decompose's videos. He was actually one of the first people I ever started watching on YouTube. He doesn't really make videos very much these days, but I'd say he's my favorite just for the sake of nostalgia. Global Peanut for the win. Badass. He asks, would you rather be a bounty hunter or a smuggler? Probably a smuggler, a bit safer, and you may not make quite as much money, but overall, I think it's just a better career. Second question is, favorite Rebel X-Wing squadron? I'm not very keen on the various squadrons, so I'll just say Rogue Squadron. Favorite Clone Legion? Oh, 501st. No contest. Alright, Christopher Creasy. Creasy? Yeah, Creasy. Do you think you could do a versus battle between Darth Maul and Darth Talon? Well, I do have no illusions that they could compete with each other on the manner of certain force abilities, but Maul is by far the superior duelist. Talon's not really bringing anything new to the table that he's unable to deal with, so yeah, Darth Maul. Next up, the voice of the Emperor asks, I heard a rumor that Star Wars Episode 7 will be taking place during the Second Galactic Civil War. Do you think this is a strong possibility? No. Not at all. They've already stated multiple times that the film is going to be an original story, so it wouldn't really make sense for the Second Galactic Civil War to be involved. Second question is, I was wondering, at what period in the New Republic's history knew an extended period of peace, like 300 years in the Old Republic's history, before the true Sith Empire returned after the end of the Jedi Civil War? As much as I love the New Republic era, I won't deny that it is definitely a time of perpetual conflict. I will say, between Star Wars Legacy and Darth Caedus's demise, there was a relative few decades of peace for a time, but not to the extent of, the 300 years between Darth Malak's death and Vitiate's uprising. So yeah. Third question, who is your favorite Jedi and Sith and why? I already answered for the Sith one, and my one for the Jedi is kind of similar. I can't honestly pin down a single Jedi that I think is my favorite, so instead, again, I will give you three individuals that I think of when I think the name Jedi, and those would be Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Kyle Katarn. For Luke Skywalker, what can you really say about him that hasn't been said already? Aside from being the core character of the Star Wars franchise, he, to me, embodies what his father could have been and what he should have been. He embodies learning from your mistakes and becoming better than, who your family was. He's an example of breaking away. He's quintessentially the ultimate redeemer, in my opinion. With Obi-Wan Kenobi, he pretty much embodies what a Jedi should be. Humble, caring, not overly fond of violence, a focus on words over actions, a deep attunement to the living force. He embodies what a Jedi should be. And with Kyle Katarn, to me, he embodies not only one of the best stories in the Star Wars franchise, but he's also a really good example of redemption as well. You know, here you have somebody who started out as a rebel agent who eventually turned into a dark Jedi, who ultimately saw the error of his ways and decided to steer towards the light. I can't fully explain why I love him so much as a character. All I could say is, you know, there's definitely this aura about him that makes you feel like you're in the presence of somebody who truly understands what it means to set a foot in both sides of the Force. So, yeah. All right, next questions we got from Lucas Sepulveda. God, I'm just butchering you guys' names here. I'm so sorry. His first question is, will you ever do a versus battle between Anakin Solo and Darth Caedus? Nah, too one-sided. If it were Anakin Solo versus Jason Solo, that might have some merit to it, but Darth Caedus, Anakin doesn't stand a chance. Which Jedi and Sith lightsaber is your favorite, and why? I already answered that. His third question is, can you explain what is Sith sorcery? I would say the best way of explaining what Sith sorcery is for you to read the Darth Bane trilogy and the Darth Plagueis novel. Within those books carries a far better and official explanation of what Sith sorcery is, at least more so than I could describe in this brief video. So, there you go. P.S. Please answer my first question first. Well, there you go. All right. This next up is from Kenobi Gaming. It's awesome. What event on Star Wars is your favorite? I.e. The Great Jedi Purge, The Great Hyperspace War, etc. Best event? I would say the quintessential event in Star Wars would probably be Return of the Jedi. More specifically, the second battle, well, not the second battle, the Battle of Endor. You know, when you watch that sequence, you really do feel like everything is riding on these key events, and you definitely feel like the weight of the entire galaxy is just truly on the line here. So that definitely has the most cinematic tone, at least to me. His third question is, what were your most disappointing moments in any Star Wars media? I.e. the cancellation of a video game, ending sequence, etc. Most disappointing ending. Well, I suppose the cancellation of Star Wars 1313 was a bit of a bummer, because I actually thought that game had some pretty cool potential, so that was a bit of a bummer. I do feel the Clone Wars was definitely canceled before its time. I feel like, at the very least, Season 6 should have been on the air. But, you know, to each his own. P.S. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I will try. Tyler Beckett asks, what is your favorite lightsaber style? Makashi. 2, how powerful do you think Savage Opress or Pong Krell could be or were? I would rank Savage Opress as a powerful Sith acolyte, but not the stuff of legend by any means. Most of his victories were just due to his overwhelming physical capabilities rather than martial skill or force ability. So he's definitely competent, but not much more than that. For Pong Krell's unlike anything I could really describe. Extremely skilled with the lightsabers, very unique, very powerful with the Force. Although I would say a lot of his effectiveness comes from just how unorthodox his fighting style is, more so than just how skilled he is in the martial arts field. But I'd say he's definitely Jedi Master status, no doubt about that. His third question is, what is your impression of the Avengers 2 trailer? Don't know, haven't seen it. Next question is from Alex Chabarhai. I'm not racist, I swear. Do you think Anakin Skywalker versus Jason Solo, Darth Caedus? I'd say Anakin versus Jason is definitely an interesting match, but Anakin versus Caedus is no contest. Anakin doesn't stand a chance. What is your opinion on the Son of Dathomir's ending? And do you think Asajj Ventress, Darth Maul, and Ahsoka Tano will appear in Star Wars Rebels? Personally, I liked the Son of Dathomir comic. I will say the ending was a little disappointing. Spoilers incoming for anyone who hasn't read it. I do think the fact that they left Darth Maul alive was a little bit of a misstep. I personally would have liked to have seen Darth Maul's story come to a complete and utter close. Obviously, you know, Talzin's death, I was actually kind of expecting that, so that wasn't too much of a shocker. But yeah, I do think that Maul should have died. But, you know, that's just me. I've said that a lot in this video, haven't I? As far as Asajj Ventress and Ahsoka Tano or Maul appearing in Rebels, Asajj Ventress is a little iffy because that novel with her and Quinlan Vos hasn't come out yet, so we don't know what's going to unfold in that, so I can't say for sure. Ahsoka Tano, that's a given. I guarantee you she'll appear in Rebels eventually. Who do you think should direct Star Wars Episode 9? We have J.J. Abrams for Episode 7, and Rian Johnson. P.S. What is your opinion on Star Wars Episode 7 leaks? You know, I've already kind of stated my opinions on Abrams in the past. I don't dislike the guy all around. I personally do think Lost was a very good TV show. I do think his Star Trek movies will leave a bit to be desired, but I do think he's going to handle the franchise with care at the very least. As far as Rian Johnson, I never saw Looper, but I heard it was awful, so that's not too confident. And I never watched Breaking Bad, but everybody loves it. So I guess he's not without some talent. But yeah, I guess I can't really make any judgments until I see what he could do. Next up is from Tom Begley. What are your thoughts on Revan coming back as the villain in the SWTOR DLC, Shadow of Revan? Okay, honestly, SWTOR has mishandled Revan from the very beginning. Admittedly, we don't know if he's going to be the central villain of the expansion pack, because we don't know all the details, although most of the hints are pretty much that he is. You know, at this point, I've kind of given up all hope that Revan, as a character, will ever be what he once was. You know, obviously, the DLC hasn't come out yet, but I just see it as another misstep. They're just digging Revan's grave deeper at this point. Second question, who is your favorite gray Jedi? Well, there aren't exactly that many to choose from, so I'll just be cliched and say Qui-Gon Jinn. Third question, what do you think? Do you think the Disney Star Wars movies will be good? You know, in all honesty, I expect them to be entertaining, and I expect them to leave me with something good at the end of the day. I think at the very, very, very least, they won't be boring, because no matter what, even when Star Wars is bad, Star Wars is never, ever boring. The worst crime a Star Wars related thing could commit is being boring. Even when something is really bad, that doesn't necessarily mean it was boring. So I think they'll at the very least be entertaining, but obviously I'm not going to get my hopes up too much until I see the movie. Next up comes from Maddie Clay. What inspired you to create your own YouTube channel, and what started your huge passion for Star Wars? The YouTube question is a question relating to one I got from Connor, so I'll answer that when I get to their questions. As far as for what started my huge passion on Star Wars, honestly, as I mentioned before, my dad was a huge sci-fi person when he was younger, and he still is. And he's kind of the one that got me introduced into the whole sci-fi genre. And, you know, he was also a Star Wars fan as well. And he was the one that really got me going into the franchise. And my love just expanded from there. So, thanks, Dad. Joe Brown asks, do you like Harry Potter? It's alright. I don't dislike it. I've only read 3 of the books, and I've seen all the movies. I'm not a diehard fan, but I don't dislike it. I think it's fine. What is your his second question is, what is your favorite color? Green. 3, how long have you known about Star Wars? My entire life, really. I mean, I saw The Phantom Menace when I was 4. So, for the majority of my life, I've known about Star Wars. P.S. Favorite movie. Besides Star Wars, taking Star Wars out of the equation, I guess my favorite movie would be... that's a tricky one. Like I said, I don't watch too many movies, at least not these days. Terminator 2. Next up comes from Eric Carlson. Who is your favorite non-Jedi/Sith character? Ooh, that's a tough one. I've always actually been partial to Bail Organa, personally. I think he's a very, very underrated character. But, there's also a lot of other non-Force users I like. Such as Bombo Greenbark, Thrawn, Pelion, Commander Demings. There's so many great non-Force user characters out there that pinning down one's just impossible. Number 2, what is your opinion? Oh, I already got to that one. Number 3, how do you think the story would have turned out if Darth Vader won the duel on Mustafar? They actually touch on that in the novel Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader. Personally, I think that Anakin would have, after he killed Obi-Wan, he would have killed Palpatine and ruled the galaxy himself with Padme and their children by his side. So, yeah, he would have had it all, but he lost it when he got burned. Next question comes from the Intercrafter Minecraft Builds. Try saying that 5 times fast. I kid. That's a cool name. Who is your favorite Star Wars character? I can't say. I'm sorry. What would you like to see in the upcoming Star Wars episodes 7 through 9? Honestly, I would like to see original stories, good acting, an entertaining narrative, and something that ultimately adds to the Star Wars universe. Something new. I want to see something new. That's what I ultimately want to see. Third question, what do you use to find info about a character? I use the various comic books and novels that are at my disposal. I do internet research, and a lot of it just comes from my own knowledge, garnered over years and years of being a fan of the franchise. So yeah, various sources. P.S. I love all your videos, Saker Mate, and keep up great work in Season 4. Thanks, man. Next up comes from Cuber117. Hey Evan, which game do you like better, KOTOR or KOTOR 2? Also, who is your favorite female Star Wars character? As far as KOTOR 1 and 2 go, I do think KOTOR 1 is ultimately the superior game because of its better story, though like I said before, the second game does improve in the gameplay department. As far as favorite female Star Wars character, I'd have to say it's a 3-way tie between Mara Jade Skywalker, Nomi Sunrider, and probably Lumaya. Alrighty. This next question comes from Mason Dale. What if Obi-Wan had trained in the gap between episodes 3 and 4? Could he have beaten Vader? That's tricky. If he trained profusely for a few years and didn't let his body degrade and didn't let himself become super old and attacked Vader while Vader was still getting used to the intricacies of his suit, because Vader, as you guys probably know, wasn't really at his prime in the suit until roughly episode 4. So if Kenobi trained a lot and went to confront Vader and Vader was still figuring how his body works, I'd say he might have a chance. It's a slim one, but a chance nonetheless. This next question is Yoda versus Galen Merrick. That's actually a match I considered doing in the past. I do think that Yoda does hold a slight advantage as a lightsaber duelist, but when factoring in Force abilities and Galen's better physicality, it's tricky. I'm just going to leave that one open. His final question is Anakin Skywalker as a Padawan versus Darth Maul from The Phantom Menace. That's a popular one. I would have to say I do think Maul would still win, but not easily. P.S. Can you do a versus series with Kanan and the Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels once we have more info on them? and just match them up with other people in Star Wars universe. Yeah, I'll definitely use Kanan and the Inquisitor when more information has come out about them. Probably not for a while though, because the series is still ongoing, but yes, I will use them eventually. Alright, next question comes from I'm a Magnet 00. Magnets, how do they even work? Thumbs up if you get that reference. If you could add one thing to the Star Wars universe, what would it be? A story, a character, a weapon, whatever. If I could add one thing, I would add a longer training session between Yoda and Luke Skywalker in Episode 5. That's what I would add. Favorite Star Wars video game? Already answered that. Which is your philosophy in life? My philosophy in life is do what makes you happy. The most important thing in a person's life is that they are comfortable with who they are and what they do. At the end of the day, the only person's happiness who really matters is yours. Follow your passions, do what makes you happy, make the right decisions. Those are the phrases I live by. Don't let other people control your life for you. Live for yourself. Do what you want to do and make the right decisions. But make the smart decisions. Don't make the stupid decisions. So yeah, hope that clears some stuff up. Sorry if these are too many questions. I just like asking stuff. Hope you can answer, and good luck. It's cool. Thank you. Alright, next up comes from Adachi Shai. I don't know what language this is. But he asks, what is your opinion about basically canceling the old canon? I already touched on that. Is there something that you'll miss in episode 7? Definitely the Yuuzhan Vong. I would have loved to have seen them on the big screen. Number 3, if you could be in the Star Wars universe as a new Jedi/Sith, how would you look like and what powers/equipment would you possess? I guess I would look like myself, but in Jedi robes. And, I already touched on which force powers I would like. And I already touched on what lightsaber I would use in my old answers to a Star Wars questionnaire video, so check that out. Next question comes from Trezai Kushrendadai. I don't know what that is. I'm not a racist, I just can't read that. His channel avatar is an anime face. Sorry, bro. His first question is, which would be my preferred lightsaber form? Makashi, backed up by Suresu. Or Suresu backed up by Makashi. Who is your favorite Robin from DC Comics? Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne. I've always been partial to Dick Grayson personally, although I do think Tim Drake has had slightly better story arcs, at least for him in just a personal sense, but yeah, hope that gives you somewhat of an answer. If you could have a lightsaber, what crystal would you use to power your saber? I would use 2 green-hued Adegan crystals, best quality, and two crystals would make the blade more stable. Next up comes from Starkiller Studios. Who is your all-time favorite Star Wars character? I can't say, I'm sorry. What is your favorite Star Wars comic book? Ooh, I would say my favorite single comic book would be... God, that's a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. I can't say for sure, but definitely some of my favorites are Jedi Council, Acts of War, Emissaries to Malastare, Quinlan Voss, A Jedi in Darkness, the Legacy comic line series. Good stuff all around. Okay, next up is from Steven Jr. I'm not quite sure what the middle name is, so I apologize. Have you read Star Wars Infinities? If so, what did you think? I personally really enjoyed the Infinity storyline. Not only does it open up just millions of possibilities for storytelling, but it really is interesting to see how the smallest of events could just have such radical effects on the Star Wars universe. And I really do think they are definitely some of the best Star Wars comics written. Now, if only we could get Infinities for the prequel trilogy. Come on, Dark Horse, I've been waiting for years! Sorry, personal issue. Do you think bringing Darth Maul back was a good idea? Nah, I don't. Personally, overall, I guess I would say no. I do think they did get some interesting stories out of it, but I do feel that him coming back does kind of cheapen the ending of The Phantom Menace a bit. It also kind of cheapens Obi-Wan's character a little bit. So overall, no, although I will say his return did yield some good stories. His third question is, have you read Star Wars Son of Dathomir? Yes, I did, and I already touched on that earlier. P.S. Evan, you have a talent for making great videos. Each one is great, but I request one versus video. Mace Windu versus Exar Kun. Battle of the Lightsaber Masters. Thanks. Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the compliment, and Mace Windu versus Exar Kun. I'll have to sleep on that one. Next question comes from I Like Batman. He asks, what fruit do you like to eat for breakfast? Okay, I was expecting to get this one. Has anyone ever had those yellow and red apple crisps that you could get usually at a supermarket? Dude, those things are like candy. Those things are delicious. If no one's tried those, go out and buy them now. You will not be disappointed. Favorite Star Wars character? Already answered that one. What is your opinions on Galen Merrick? Or what do you think about Galen Merrick? I think he's a good character overall. I actually recently just reread the novelization of The Force Unleashed, and I do think that's probably the best representation of his character, even more so than in the game. I think he's a well-rounded character. He is a little bland at times, but I guess that just kind of adds to the fact that he's a player character, so yeah, he's a good character. P.S. Galen is my favorite character ever. Nice. Alrighty. Already answered that one. Deadman asks, are you more of a Marvel or DC fan? I'm more of a DC fan. I don't really read superhero comics as much these days, but I've always been more inclined to DC stories. I just think their heroes are a bit better and their storytelling's a bit more coherent, but hey, we're all allowed to have opinions. Okay. Next one comes from EddieBoy3560. He asks, hello there. First of all, thanks for an awesome Versus series and keep them coming. Thank you. I'll be sure to do that. His first question is, if you could get to lay down in a machine that knocked you out and made you go into a sort of coma-like dream-like state, in which state you'd be in the Star Wars franchise as yourself, but either Jedi or Sith, Jedi if I know you correctly, good call on that one, what would you do? Well, my first reaction would probably be like, what the hell am I doing in the Star Wars universe, and why did I go into a machine that put me into a coma? But the first thing I would do is, I guess I would test the limits of what I could do in that dreamlike state and just have the time of my freaking life. Oh, he goes on to say, it's so real that you could literally not tell the difference. As far as you're concerned, you're experiencing it, but it's not really happening. Yeah, you get it. So he's going Matrix on me, alright. If you say yes, then you're in there until you die at 95. I see what you did there. I don't think I'd want to be trapped in a dream state for the rest of my life. I like even to go to such a spectacular place as Star Wars, because honestly, if I was aware that it was a dream, I think I would just not enjoy it as much. If I wasn't aware, then I guess it wouldn't matter. Because to me, it would just be reality, and when I die, so I guess it doesn't matter. But if I was conscious of it, then nah, I'd want to wake up. Third question, are you a stereotypical nerd? Okay, do you have lots of friends, hang out with girls? What's your opinion on sports, exercises, and so on? Yeah, you get my question. Again, thanks, dude, you're awesome. All the best, Ed. Okay, well, to answer that question, here's a phone with a cacophony of phone numbers, and I was a varsity wrestler in high school. Take that, stereotype. Alright, next up comes from Epic Gaming Warriors. My one and only question is, do you think Darth Nihilus was, or was on the verge of being, the most powerful Sith Lord? No, he wasn't. His powers were ultimately a means to an end. He would have consumed himself eventually. Next up comes from Impetus Crowd 8. He asks, if you were to write a Star Wars book, what would it be about? I touched on that one in my answers to a questionnaire video, which was writing about the life of Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn when they were both master and student. So, yeah. Next question comes from Holy Ark Chemical Michael. His Q&A questions are, who do you think is the most interesting Jedi from the EU and why? If we're speaking strictly in terms of the EU, then I would have to say Quinlan Vos. He definitely has a lot of interesting character to him and a lot of interesting just events that go through his life. And he's pretty much the EU poster boy, so yeah. What is your favorite storyline from the EU? I can't pick one, I'm sorry. Favorite non-Force user, I already answered that. Next up is Christian Bunchels? Christian Bunchels, I think. Please don't get offended when I mispronounce your names, please. What is your favorite number and why? I always like the number 40. Can't really explain why. I guess it just looks cool. Next up comes from Paragon Nova Jr. Relative of mine, maybe? Q&A questions. Which first two form would you learn if you were... Oh, sorry. Typo. Which first two lightsaber forms would you learn if you were a Jedi? I already touched on this. Makashi Sarisu. Can you do Shaolin Kung Fu? No, I can't. Sorry. As far as why not, I just can't. I don't know how. What is your favorite lightsaber type in crystal color? Favorite lightsaber type, single-bladed, sacrifices the least, and it's the sort of blade that the classical forms were designed to accommodate. And crystal color, well, green. I already answered that one. Next question comes from Torvat8005. Do you have a Twitter? No, I'm not really into Twitter. Can you give us the titles of the songs you used in your Versus videos? It's just that, making a title sequence with the songs is kind of a pain in the ass. But maybe, if enough people ask for it. Can you do Savage Opress versus Darth Nihil? That's actually an interesting matchup. I'll have to think about that one. Alright, next up comes from Metal Grev. His first question is, Kirk or Picard? Dude, Picard, all the way. I don't care what you say. Number 2, are you looking forward to the future of Star Wars? Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot on the horizon, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. Number 3, are you even thinking of creating a Facebook page? Not really. I'm Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, like I said before, not really my thing. Alright, next question comes from Michael Adams. Have you been watching Star Wars Rebels? I have, and I've been keeping up with the series, and yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. His second question is Ahsoka Tano from Season 5 versus Luke Skywalker from Episode 5. Well, I understand the logic in thinking that, Luke Skywalker in Episode 5 is definitely the least, or at least the second least skilled in his time. However, the fact of the matter is, even in Episode 5, Luke Skywalker proved to be a relatively decent match for Darth Vader. And even when we consider the fact that Vader was probably holding back a little bit, it's not necessarily something I think that Ahsoka could do, even if Vader was holding back the same. So, although I do think it would be a difficult battle, Luke Skywalker gets the victory there. His third question is, what is your favorite thing about the expanded universe? I answered that in my Star Wars answers to a Star Wars questionnaire video, so you can just check that out for the answer. Alright, next question comes from Tommy Priestai. What is your favorite Star Wars game? Already answered that. Do you go to conventions, for example, Comic-Con? Yes, I do. I don't go to Comic-Con every year because it's a very, very big hassle, even for somebody who lives in San Diego, to attend, but I attend when I like. And I've even been to WonderCon a couple of times up in Anaheim, so I do my fair share of conventioning. His third question is, if I like superheroes, which I do, which is my favorite from Marvel and DC? Okay, from DC, Green Lantern. From Marvel, probably Daredevil. I don't know, I just think he's cool. P.S. Keep up the awesome work. All your videos are amazing. Thank you. Next up comes from Johnny Will... Johnny Will Dude. I like that. Johnny Will Dude. Please, Johnny, we dude. Alright, that's clever. What battle do you like from the Clone Wars? I'd say my favorite duel from the Clone Wars was probably the Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, Savage Opress free-for-all. That one definitely had some of the best choreography in the series, best animation, high stakes, it was brilliant. So yeah. Hondo Moonrazer asks, who would win in a fight, Star Trek or Star Wars? I already covered that one. I actually am skipping a majority of questions because a lot of you guys asked the same questions over, so there's no real point in answering the same questions more than once. So I apologize if your questions didn't get in here, but, you know, they do still get answered to a certain degree. Creepercraft Madness asks, favorite Jedi? Answered that. Favorite Sith? Answered that. What do you prefer, the prequels or the trilogies? I look at the Star Wars 6 movies as just one big story. Overall, I guess I would have to say the original trilogy has the best storytelling, but to me, it's just all one big movie. Dominic Reed asks, do you read a lot of Star Wars books? I have an entire bookshelf next to my bed. What season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars was your favorite? Honestly, the series got better with each season. I guess I'd have to say, overall, the most solid season was Season 5 and 6. I can't say one. Season 5 and 6, I think, were the most well put together. Still, a lot of the other seasons were good, too. What is your favorite clone trooper in Star Wars? Not counting stormtroopers, I guess... You know, I'm obviously not a huge clone fan. You know, I like Commander Cody. I like Rex. I love the Republic Commandos. And strangely enough, I also really like Commander Appo. I can't fully explain it. He's just awesome to me. So I can't really narrow it down to one. Tony Thomas asks, favorite lightsaber? Got that one. Who would you want to be your master? Obi-Wan Kenobi or Darth Bane? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Much better master-student dynamic. Burger King or McDonald's? McDonald's. I've eaten at Burger King like 3 times in my life. It's only because there's like one in San Diego, so yeah. Two Thomas asks, do you think the prequel trilogy gets too much hate? Yes. What are your thoughts on Palpatine's first name being Sheev or Shev, depending on which translation you read? It's fine. I mean, we've never gone to first name form, and you know, just Palpatine does get a little bland after a while. I don't think it's bad. What do you think of Barriss Offee's hell turn in The Wrong Jedi? I do think her turning to the dark side was kind of out of nowhere and very uncharacteristic for her. I do think it does open up some good storyline possibilities, and in that particular episode, she does bring up some interesting points, like, you know, the Council supporting the war and whatnot. But overall, I'd say it was a bit of a negative turn, if not a completely pointless one. I do think it had potential, but I do think it should have been explored upon more. Wasted potential, pretty much. Sam Marr asks, I already answered that. What is beyond the Outer Rim, as in planets or moons? Beyond the Outer Rim is the unknown regions, which is the birthplace of the Chiss Ascendancy and the Yuuzhan Vong, among other things. Tony Varghese, Evan, you are an awesome Star Wars debater / storyteller, and I was wondering if you can do these. Thanks, man, and I will. Story of Asgath Nuldoff from Knights of the Old Republic 2. Perhaps. I mean, there's really not enough to go on for him. Versus video, Ajunta Paul versus Ludo Kresh. While I have used Ludo Kresh in the past, there's really just not enough information on Ajunta Paul to go anywhere from, so sorry, man, I can't. Games in Heaven, who, if you guys don't know, is actually the one who made my channel background, so thanks again, dude. His first question is, what do you use to edit your videos? I already answered that one, Final Cut Pro X. Have you thought of doing gaming videos alongside Versus series, or maybe even trying Steam? I have considered doing gaming videos, perhaps maybe like a playthrough of like some Star Wars games. I can't do Steam because, like I mentioned before, I have a Mac, so I can't do that. So yeah. What is your favorite Star Wars game? I already answered that. Okay, Tiny Tora asks, what do you think so far about Star Wars Rebels? Honestly, I do think the show is starting off on a good note. There's definitely a lot of good stories so far, a lot of character. You could definitely feel the heart and soul they really are putting into this series. I do think it has potential to be something truly special, but it's just so early into the series that we can't really say for sure, you know, what's going where. So there you go. Dino Army 13 asks, any hobbies you like aside from Star Wars, you assume? I run a lot, and I'm also an avid photographer, so those are two things I enjoy doing. What is your favorite cereal? Lucky Charms. 3, any tips for starting a YouTube channel? Make videos that you enjoy making, be consistent with your uploads, be passionate, have fun. That's the best advice I could give. Aspojai5345 asks, who made your avatar and who made your banner? My avatar is actually a picture of Luke Skywalker from the cover of The Swarm War Volume 3, and my channel banner was actually made, I actually said this a moment ago, by a YouTuber named Games in Heaven. He contacted me through Skype and offered to make me a channel banner, and I accepted, he made it, and I loved it, so there you go. Give him all the credit for that. Alan Duwash asks, can you do an Obi-Wan Kenobi versus video? Yes, I will be doing Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I do have plans for several matches for him, actually, so keep an eye out for those. His next question is Anakin Skywalker versus Mace Windu. Mace Windu takes that one. You know, Skywalker's fighting style completely feeds with what Mace is able to accomplish, and even despite Skywalker's force potential, in an overall sense, he won't be able to take Windu, so Mace Windu gets the victory. Who is your favorite clone trooper? Already answered that. P.S. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Justin Dongan asks, what got you started into making these videos? That relates to another question that Connor asked me that I will get to later. Are you worried about running out of verses? Not really. You know, when you really take into account the sheer number of characters in the Star Wars universe and the fact that the franchise is still being added to, there's a very slim chance that I'll use every single Star Wars character in the universe. And yeah, so I'm not worried about that. Do you think the new Star Wars movies will have a musical in it since Disney got hold of it? No. People, Pirates of the Caribbean was made by Disney and it didn't have a musical segment. It's not going to have a musical segment. That'd be stupid. Nicholas Wong, he asks, which is my favorite force power? Already answered that one. Will you use the Inquisitor in your Versus series? I, again, already answered that one. Which is your favorite Sith? Already answered that one. Sorry, bro. People beat you to it. Next up is VR Dragon 12. Which has been your most favorite Versus series / story video that you've done so far? Honestly, my favorite Versus series that I've made was probably Luke Skywalker versus Mace Windu. I personally think that one had some of the best narration, some of the best editing, some of the best lines in it out of any of the Versus I've done, so that's my favorite so far. And as far as the story videos, my favorite story video is probably General Grievous. That's probably definitely the one that I got the most into. So yeah. Do you prefer Marvel or DC? I already did that. What is your dream job? Being paid to make videos for you guys from the bridge of my own personal Superstar Destroyer that I would name Supernova. P.S. I look forward to Season 4, and I so would love to see more story profiles. You'll get both, don't worry. Those rock all the way. May the Force be with you. You too, bro. Vanitas Darkness asks, who do you think is the worst Jedi and Sith in Star Wars? I already answered that. Second question, what do you think would happen if Anakin never joined the Sith and was able to overcome his anger and become a true Jedi? Then he'd essentially be his son, what his son became ultimately. He'd probably eventually become the Grand Master as long as he could get over his guilt trip issues. But yeah. The Seaman235 asks, do you play Super Smash Bros? I have. I don't play it often. I don't even have a 3DS. But I did play some of the older Smashes in the past, so yeah, I'm familiar with it. What is your favorite Star Wars movie? I already answered that one, Return of the Jedi. What is your favorite Versus match you've done? I already answered that one. P.S. Can't wait for Season 4. Alright, cool. Glad to see you're looking forward. Next questions come from Fatal Ferocity. What are your thoughts on how Mace Windu's death was handled and whether he should have survived or not? I think his death was handled fine, personally. You know, he definitely didn't go out easy. And no, he should not survive. No. Like, I'm cool with certain continuity changes, but that would be one that would legitimately piss me off. Mace Windu died. I'm sorry. That's if he comes back in Rebels, I'm gonna be really pissed. Like, really pissed. I might even make a rant if they do that. But no, he's dead. Dark Side Off the Wall. Wow, that is one hell of a name. Awesome. Which lightsaber form is your favorite and why? I already answered that one. Which starship or super weapon would you choose? I'd probably say a Corellian cruiser as my main means of transportation. As far as super weapons goes, just give me a super Star Destroyer and I'm set. His third question is, which planet in Star Wars would you most like to live on? Probably Coruscant. Or Dantooine. Kind of already touched on those. Savage Reborn asks, what do you think will happen with Ahsoka Tano? She'll probably come back in Rebels, I'm sure of it. Which would I choose, Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars The Clone Wars? I can't say, because Rebels is still going. I can't say one way or the other. Diamond Boys asks, do you think Luke Skywalker is overpowered? Only a little. Who is the strongest in the Tremutative Sith? Darth Nihilus has the most powerful force powers, Darth Sion has the best dueling skills, and Kreia has the most academic knowledge, but overall, Darth Nihilus. What would Anakin's future have looked like if he didn't join the dark side? I already got that one. Led Zepp asks, is your username Shooting Nova on Comic Vine? No, I don't have a Comic Vine account. Tyler Grant asks, who is your favorite Star Wars character? I already touched on that. Do you think you could do a versus series with Yoda versus Darth Krayt? That's a match that definitely has some merit. When does versus series season 4 start? I already answered that. Soon. Flexnade asks, what is my opinion on Darth Zana? I do like her as a character, not so much as a combatant. She's skilled, but she has a lot of flaws. But I do think she's pretty cool as a character. Where's the female Wookiees? If you read the Death of Chewbacca comic book, you'll get your answer. Why isn't there any female stormtroopers? Sexist Empire? There are female stormtroopers, it's just the armor with their armor on, you can't really tell the difference. If you read the official guide to warfare, there's actually a little snippet about female stormtroopers. I think that'll answer your questions. P.S. Keep up the great work, and may the Force be with you. You too, man. Next question comes from Samuel Swan. Who is your favorite Sith? I already answered that one. Have you ever thought of stop doing videos because it wasn't going so well? Maybe in like my really early days, but no, I do this because I love it, and I have no desire to stop. What is your favorite Force ability? I already did that one. P.S. I think we all are looking forward to Season 4, and keep up the great work, and may the Force be with you. Thanks, man. Good to hear. James Cairns asks, what do you absolutely hate in Star Wars? Hate's a pretty strong word. I hate how a lot of stories just kind of depend on plot convenience, just so they could keep in track with the movies. That's a bit of a flaw. The Metalhead 9000, damn, that's one hell of a name. In a good way, I'm not insulting. Number 1, have you ever been to any conventions? Yes, I've been to Comic-Con, and I've also been to WonderCon. Favorite non-Star Wars story? Something like a movie, TV show, anime, comic, etc. I already answered the movie thing, and I've already touched on anime. I don't really watch TV much anymore. The last TV show I watched from beginning to end was House, which I loved. That's a great show. So yeah. Would you ever be doing something like Screw Attack, taking 2 characters or groups and having them face off? A group battle? Yeah, I'll use a group battle eventually. P.S. Love these videos. I personally never got into the EU, but after watching yours and Jen Sarai's videos, I am getting pretty into it. So thank you for that. Thanks, man. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to, educate, and I'm here to just inform. I'm here to just entertain, and it's cool that I actually am having that effect on you guys, so thank you. Next question comes from the only one Zallo. Did you enjoy the Clone Wars? If so, will you ever do a video about the Clone Wars, like a review or a list of personal favorite episodes? As I said before, I did enjoy the Clone Wars. I think I will do a top 10 favorite episodes list at some point, I just don't know when. What is your opinion on Star Wars Rebels? I already touched on that one too. Enjoy it so far. Number 3, will you ever do a more vlogish videos expressing your opinion or concerns about something, like you used to do in your very, very early videos? Me and a few of my friends have been talking about doing a Star Wars podcast, so perhaps. Madomatic1 asks Plo Koon versus Darth Nihilus. While I have no illusions that Plo Koon could easily, outstrip him as a duelist, when Force abilities come into play, the battle's kind of one-sided. But anything with Nihilus is just stupid. So, yeah, part of the reason I'll never use him. Sorry. Will you ever show us your face? I think I did a little while ago. Jack Pin Leader, his Q&A question is, will you ever show us your face? I did a little bit earlier. And if you want a better view, you can just go to the end of my Luke Skywalker vs. Mace Windu video. I do a little May the Force be with you thing actually live. Fair warning, I'm not very much to look at. Epic Big RG asks, do you play any musical instruments? No, but I do kind of wish I learned. Here we go. James Nat Chut asks, what is your favorite variation of Clone Trooper, any phase? Phase 2 armor. Looks badass. To your knowledge, is there any reason the shield generators of a Star Destroyer must be so exposed? Plot convenience. Next up is from Edward Bendor. What do you think of Knights of the Old Republic? The first game would work better as a movie or a TV series. I think Knights of the Old Republic is fine just the way it is. If I had to choose between a TV series and a movie, I guess a TV series, because with a game of that length and with so much going on, it would work better to have, each section just kind of panned out in a series of episodes. So yeah, TV series. Next up is from Jacob Hudson. His first question is, what is your favorite Versus series video that you've been doing? I've already mentioned that one. What is your favorite Star Wars Versus series matchup of all time, including those done by Jen Sarai, Grey Jedi 91, Ready for Antoine Bendel, etc.? Not counting myself, if you're talking about like my friends, oh man, I'm really gonna signal some people out. I'm really gonna offend someone here. I suppose if we're talking, I really, really enjoyed Grey Jedi 91's Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Bane and Darth Zana. That one, I think that Versus video is the most cinematic of any Versus videos on YouTube, but that's just me. Number 3, do you think a collaboration matchup for EvanNova95 versus Jen Sarai versus Grey Jedi 91 versus Antoine Bandela, based on the answers to Star Wars questionnaire you all took, can be done? We've actually talked about doing that. I am not gonna lie, we have considered it. As far as whether or not we'll actually do it, we'll just have to see. P.S. You were doing a great job, Evan. Keep up the great work and keep looking for those characters that we all know and love from the EU. Thanks, man. Next question comes from Phantom Raider 100. How do you describe yourself as a person? All right, wow. I'm somebody who does what he enjoys doing. I'm passionate. I'm just really me. I don't really know if I could put it into words. I'm just a happy guy who loves to do what he loves to do. Number 2, what kind of fighting styles would a Jedi use if said Jedi was fighting semi to highly intelligent feral beasts? Well, he'd probably just use the beast control ability, and if that didn't work, I guess I would say Shien would be the best, because it's quick, really good for counters, and it allows him to get the job done quickly. Either that or Ataru. Following up the second question, this is his third question, would it really be considered falling to the dark side if a Jedi was striking down a feral beast with anger and hate, even though it's just a beast? I mean, we're not talking about a person, just a wild carnivorous animal. To the Jedi, life of all kinds is precious, and really striking down anything in anger, be it a person, an animal, or even a droid, can have some negative consequences on a Jedi psyche, so yes, it would still be considered dark. P.S. Have you ever heard of the web series RWBY? Yes, I have. Don't be confused, it's actually pronounced Ruby. Yeah, I know. Like the color of the gem. Thank you. I'm just wondering because I would like to hear your opinion about it. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I mean, for what I saw, it was alright. But yeah, I couldn't really be bothered to go any further. Lucas Emerson asks, do you like Ki-Adi-Mundi? And if so, will you ever make a history video of him? I do like Ki-Adi-Mundi. I won't ever do a story video, but I will do a versus series eventually. Who's your favorite superhero? Already answered that. Are you more of a Marvel DC fan? Already answered that. Next question comes from Equinox O. Are you doing a versus video featuring Mitra Surik from KOTOR 2? No. She's a player character. There's not nearly enough to go on. Next question comes from Andy Skywalker. How do you gather your information for your versus videos? I tried to do one, but I failed. Do you have to write a script or something? Yeah, I do. As far as gathering information, I touched on that earlier. From the books I have, my own experience, etc. Do I write a script for these? Yeah, I do. For the versus videos, big scripts. It takes a lot of work. Next question comes from Optical Spark. First question is, what is your absolute favorite comic book series? Already answered that one. Would you consider a collaboration with Anton Bandela as a possibility? Because you two are the best. Thank you. Yes, we actually have talked in the past about possible collaborations. It probably won't be anytime soon, but we plan to eventually. Why is your upload rate so low? I and various other people guess would be so happy to see more. I would upload more if I could, honestly, but the fact of the matter is the versus videos take so much work to do that it's very difficult to make these in a certain amount of time. Plus, I have real life stuff to deal with, unfortunately. So it's not really a matter of me not making it, it's just a matter of I can't make it in any quicker, so I apologize. P.S. Keep up the great work. Thank you. John Cromwell asks, would you like to see Peter Jackson direct a Star Wars film? It would be interesting to see how his style would mesh with the Star Wars universe. At the very least, it'd be interesting to see how it would turn out. Favorite creature from Star Wars? I already answered that one. Okay, next question comes from Jacob 91894. He asks, what is your favorite? He asks, what are my top 3 favorite Star Wars novels? Oh, that's a tough one. Am I allowed to include series? Probably not. If I were to narrow it down to 3, it would be the Revenge of the Sith novelization, the first Darth Bane book, and Darth Plagueis. They all have just amazing stories and very well thought out characters. Number 2, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars kind of being restarted with the EU? I already touched on that. How do you think the 6 new Star Wars movies will affect the franchise? I already touched on that one too. I was wondering why it seems like you only upload videos every 3 weeks, and I suggest you try to do more videos other than versus series. More about interesting characters, wars, battles, plans, etc. I already touched on the upload rate. It's not so much I don't want to upload more, I really do. It's just it takes way too much time to make some of these. But yeah, as far as other stuff, I'm planning on branching out, so be prepared for that. Okay, next question comes from Anakin Skywalker. Why is Star Wars Episode 2 your least favorite Star Wars film? I think it's a big improvement over Episode 1, and my 4th favorite Star Wars film. I kind of touched on that already. I just think the story's the least coherent, and I do think some of the stuff flows just not quite as well, but that's just me. Phantom Menace ain't that bad. Come on, people. Do you like the prequels? Yeah, I do. I really liked 2 and 3, but 1 was the most disappointing since my son. You got that from Red Letter Media. Am I one of your favorite Star Wars characters? Because he's Anakin Skywalker. I guess. Not really. I'm not. I'm more of a Darth Vader guy. Next question comes from Star Wars Separatists. Ooh, Separatists. Even the Separatists like my videos. Good to hear. Number 1, do you consider the Confederacy of Independent Systems, excluding Darth Sidious, villains? And if so... And if you do, why? If you don't, then why again? Well, personally, I think any group of people, even when you take Sidious out of the equation, the majority of the Confederacy are still terrible people. Many of them cheated their home planets, many of them betrayed their ideals, many of them are murderers themselves, and, you have some, when you have the Trade Federation invading Naboo, which admittedly was Sidious's idea, but they still went with it. Or you have Wat Tambor, him holding up the Twi'leks as slaves. That's just not right. So they are villains. They're just villains who think they're doing the right thing, which in a sense is almost the worst kind of villain. We can see that Count Dooku had a lot of chances to kill Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. Why? Why didn't he? Basically, is what he's saying. Plot convenience. That's the only reason. Next question comes from Josephat Jerio, I think that's how you say it. Are you gay? No, I'm not. And even if I was, would it matter? Second and third favorite fandom. Not quite sure. Did you go to college? I am currently attending the local college in my area, so you could say I'm in the process. P.S. Really awesome work. Congratulations, man. I love the Versus series, but I honestly prefer a lot more the Star Wars The Story of series. You and a few others. I enjoy it too. Next, Jay Fitz asks, who do you think would win in a lightsaber duel? Who would win in a duel, Anakin Skywalker or Jaina Solo? Jaina. Is Darth Malgus more powerful than Darth Revan? Arguably, I think he actually is. Have you ever read or heard about the anti-Sith conspiracy? No, I haven't. I'll have to look that up later. I'm a bear, Z for life, okay? If you could live on any Star Wars planet, what would it be? I already answered that one. Would you be a Guardian, Consular, or Sentinel? I'd be a Consular. I'm more of a Force guy. Do you think the new Star Wars movies will suck or not? I don't think they will. Next up is Music Man. How old are you? I am 19. What is your favorite Star Wars battle? Already answered that. Who is your favorite Old Republic character? Jolie Bindo. Can't get enough of him. Okay, next up comes from Pyro Town. Okay, I don't know if I'd want to visit Pyro Town. Why do so few lightsaber-wielding characters use curved lightsabers? Seeing as a lot of people specialize in Makashi, would it not make sense for more characters wielding this strategy, which Count Dooku used? Count Dooku wasn't that heavily focused on lightsaber combat. Yet he's been able to hold his own with the likes of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker at the same time, and even going as far as the besting the pair once, as well as being able to hold his own against Yoda, and that's just how he wrote it. There are characters like Sith Lords who would favor quite generously from this. Why aren't they? The curved hilt really isn't. I actually do kind of agree with him on this. The curved hilt is not as common as it probably should be. I think part of the reason it's so uncommon is because it's very difficult to master, and it definitely does render certain moves more difficult. So I guess the best answer I could give you is because it's difficult. Next question comes from Dark Jedi. What is your favorite alien species? I already answered that one. What's your opinion on Lucasfilm and Disney, non-canon? What is your favorite Star Wars movie? Return of the Jedi. I already answered that one. I already answered all those questions. Okay, this next question comes from a user who wants to remain anonymous. He asks, who would I want my apprentice to be? Antoine Bandela. Nah, just kidding, man. Just kidding, bro. Watch, someone's gonna make a fan art picture now of me as a Jedi Master and him as my student or something. I'm just kidding, bro. But as far as who I'd want as my student, I'd say perhaps the ideal student would be Ferris Olin from the Jedi Apprentice series. Jedi Quest, my mistake. He's very eager to learn, very noble, willing to try new things, and he's very, he's just really the best student most people could ask for. So yeah, Ferris Olin. Bolton Balask asks, what are your thoughts about the Mandalorian people/culture? They're alright. Not really as interesting as the Jedi, but still. What do you think about Revan? Past Revan or current Revan? Current Revan, he kind of sucks. But back in the good old days of KOTOR 1, well, he was you when you played as him. If you could change one thing about the Star Wars, what would it be and why? I already touched on that. This one comes from the Ultimate Nerd. What is the name under your intro song? Oh, it's just made by the creator. It's just the creator of the intro. He wanted to be credited, and I agreed, so he put his little name under there. Next question comes from Bedompt. Okay. Do you like the Fallout series? Yeah, I do. Seriously, those are great games. What is your favorite kind of lightsaber? Standard. Revan or Mitra Surik? Not in terms of power, but which do you prefer as a character? Well, they've both been kind of screwed over by time. I guess Revan because he has the better game. Okay, and to conclude this Q&A, I will be answering the questions sent to me by my peers on the Jedi Council. Basically, Jen Sarai, Antoine Bandela, Ready 4. Great Jedi, unfortunately, didn't send any questions because he's currently working, so he didn't have time. But it happens. So, let's start off with Jen Sarai from Connor. What motivated you to join YouTube and start making Star Wars videos? I joined YouTube because I've always been, a filmmaker at heart, and I just wanted to I saw YouTube as a way to test and better my skills as a video maker. As far as Star Wars videos goes, well, I've been passionate about this franchise my entire life, and what better way to express what you're passionate in than by making videos about it, at least to me. His second question is, which novel, Star Wars or otherwise, would you like to see adapted as a graphic novel? And who is the artist that you would want to do it? That's a tough one. As far as Star Wars novels into comic books go, I wouldn't mind seeing a comic adaptation of Yoda Dark Rendezvous, as it's my favorite Clone Wars era novel. As far as who would draw it, I don't really have a preference. Probably whoever made the Dark Horse Clone Wars comics, because the art in those things is brilliant. So yeah, Yoda Dark Rendezvous. Okay, next question comes from Antoine Bandela. Who wins, peanut butter or jelly? Dude, peanut butter. That's no contest right there. Next and final question comes from Ready 4. When did you first get into contact with your fellow Versus series creators? My friends. Okay, well, it's actually an interesting story. So, the first person I came in contact with was Grey Jedi 91. This was back when he was known as Jarl Poof. I commented on a few of his videos, and he actually commented back on one point, saying, I left a nice comment, and he said, thanks, man. So that was our first ever, me to him conversation, quote unquote. Then he actually once commented on one of my videos, I think it was top 10 underrated Sith Lords, and he was like, wow, dude, I didn't know you made videos. And I was like, yeah, I just started recently. This was when I was still in my early stages. So, then the next day, he sent me a personal message asking for Skype contacts, and I was like, okay, so I friended him on Skype, and then after that, we started talking. First through texting chats and then through actual voice chats, and we got to know each other, we exchanged ideas and stuff, and we became friends. Then he recommended me to Connor, Jen Sarai, and he messaged me contact request on Skype, and from there it was the same deal. We started texting, chatting, and then we started audio chatting, and we just became friends from there. And then a few months later, Antoine Bandela and Ready 4 both started making videos, and I liked the content that they had, so I shot them requests on Skype. They answered, and then again, same deal. We started talking, and we became friends. So it was a nice little process, and they're all really great people, and I'm really privileged to, share my ideas with fellow YouTube creators, and it really is an honor at times, seriously. So yeah. All right, that concludes the Q&A. I know I didn't get to everybody's questions, partly because a lot of you guys asked the same questions, and just the sheer amount of questions, I got was a bit much, and I didn't want to make the video too long, even though I'm pretty sure this video is probably well over 2 hours by now. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody who participated. I love doing viewer-related segments on my channel. I've actually given some consideration to holding a contest at some point, so shoot some comments if you'd like to see a contest of any kind, really. And yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to Season 4 of the Versus series starting soon, and I'll see you guys later.